Pero coño! Ah!
Apprehend this!
How did you do that?
With style, Petit. With style.
This is
Style,
Gambit, or at
Petit.
least this is how every 90s kid remembers the iconic Cajun. And supposedly, this is Gambit 2.
Why would you think I know that? Well, because I know who you are, Gambit.
Only to a far more inferior
Get out of here,
degree.
you're not my
Rumors
Gambit.
of Channing Tatum taking over the role and doing it right have been spiraling throughout the ether of the internet for close to 15 years, so why did it take so long to finally make it happen?
You know how long I've been waiting for this? Woo, I'm about to make a name for myself here.
Yeah! I'm about to make a name for myself here.
How long I've been waiting for this? Woo, I'm about to make a name for myself here.
Before we proclaim ourselves the king of the Thieves Guild, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Nerdstalgic. First appearing in Uncanny X-Men number 266, Remy LeBeau, aka Gambit, was created by longtime X-Men scribe Chris Claremont and superstar artist Jim Lee. Possessing the mutant ability to channel kinetic energy into inanimate objects that then explode, the character's rich backstory, complex motivations, and unique costume proved to be an
Guys,
instant
so
hit with
cool.
fans. Gambit's original backstory in the comics was that he was kidnapped from a hospital as a baby and raised by a shadowy organization called the Thieves Guild in New Orleans, Louisiana. He was prophesized to be the chosen one, and that he would eventually unite the warring clans of the Thieves Guild and the Assassins Guild. Ultimately, the character enjoyed rampant popularity during the 90s, but thanks to winding and overly convoluted storylines, by the early 2000s, our boy Remy had faded into something of a B-list status.
No! He'll always be A-list to me.
By the time the X-Men films were making it to the big screen, there were rumblings of a Gambit cameo in X2. Internet lore would suggest that stuntman James Bamford actually shot a sequence for the film as the character, but it was deleted from the finished film prior to release. The only remnant of the Raging Cajun's presence in the film is by name only, on the computer system that Mystique hacks. During the pre-production of X-Men 3: The Last Stand, it was decided that Gambit would have a small but important role in the film, and initially Josh Holloway of Lost fame and Keanu Reeves were both thought of for the part. Eventually, it was decided that a younger, more fresh-faced performer was needed for the role, and a relative unknown named Channing Tatum was selected. This was a dream come true for the young performer, who grew up in Mississippi and whose father was from Louisiana. However, before the camera could roll on the film, Gambit's part was written out of the script. However, Tatum was reapproached for the role only a year later when it was decided that the next picture in the franchise would be X-Men Origins: Wolverine, a prequel focusing specifically on the backstory of Hugh Jackman's iconic Canadian brawler. But Tatum was unable to officially sign on due to having already taken the role of Conrad Duke Hauser in G.I. Joe: Rise of Cobra.
Heavy Duty thinks you guys ought to stick around permanently.
Oh, so you're asking us, right?
Yeah, because it didn't sound like you was asking.
Because you got to be asked to join the GI.
I'm asking.
Well, I'm in.
Origins' version of Gambit was portrayed by Friday Night Lights and John Carter star Taylor Kitsch. Fox execs were confident in this pick and even signed Kitsch to a 3-picture deal, anticipating his own series of X-Men films. Obviously, we all remember X-Men Origins Wolverine, and the less said about that endeavor, the better.
Damn.
Told you not to mention his weight. Why'd you call him Blob?
I didn't call him Blob, I said Bub.
Tatum's enthusiasm for the character was obviously left undampened though. In September of 2013, he was quoted by Slash Film as saying, "Gambit's my favorite. I'm from New Orleans, around that area. My dad's from New Orleans, and I like to do a Cajun accent. I could do it for real." No knock on Taylor Kitsch though, because I actually like his Gambit, but I've always lived around Cajun people.
Oh,
By
shit.
January of 2014, it came to light that Tatum and longtime X-Men producer Lauren Schuler Donner were collaborating on a small-scale crime film featuring Gambit. The team even brought in Chris Claremont to write a treatment for the film before hiring
never
screenwriter Josh
took
Zedemer
off,
to pen
huh?
the script. Then for a hot second, it looked like Tatum's Gambit would premiere in X-Men Apocalypse in the summer of 2016. However, that also didn't happen. Eventually, the script got into
God
a somewhat
damn it.
working order, and the
Why'd
film
they
landed
do
its
that?
first
Why'd they
director
do
in
that to my
Rupert
boy?
Wyatt, the filmmaker behind Rise of the Planet of the Apes. While Wyatt worked to develop the script,
How
the
could you
project
do
hit
this?
a bit of a rough patch. Tatum's development contract had run out of time and needed to be renegotiated. However, However, after Hugh Jackman decided to step down after the completion of Logan, Fox was looking for new anchor characters, and Tatum's team wanted their megastar in the making to be compensated sizably. Ultimately, they were able to come to an agreement, but this put a kink into the development for a stretch. After that was resolved, everything looked like it was smooth sailing. Fox was barreling towards making the film, and then tragedy struck. Rupert Wyatt departed the project only 12 weeks before filming.
Oh
Why?
my God.
Because
Fantastic Four came out, did not do very well for Fox. They decided to lower our budget. We were 12 weeks out. We couldn't recover. The script needed a huge amount of rewriting in order to fit that budget, and ultimately, you know, powers that be chose not to go down that road.
Fox then rushed to find a new director to meet the proposed start date. It would be Bourne Identity and the recent Roadhouse remake director Doug Liman that was brought in to helm the project. He purportedly even began working on the script with longtime series writer Simon Kinberg, Tatum, and the producers before his deal was closed to attempt to enable them to meet their start date. And yet, we all know where this is going. At the time, Simon Kinberg described the project as more of a heist movie, but having a sexy thriller tone to it, which honestly sounds exactly like what it should be. A Gambit movie doesn't need to be this massive epic. He's a character that has a rich backstory and is almost a superhero by association. He's a criminal, a literal thief. Putting him in a southern-themed Ocean's 11 movie sounds fantastic. From here, we jump forward to October of 2017.
That sounds like
Gore
shit.
Verbinski, the director
Stop
behind
lying.
Pirates of the Caribbean, boards the project. They started over from scratch, with multiple members of the creative crew saying positive things about how the project was going to be free of genre
That
tropes
just sounds
and
like
cliches.
that just sounds like they were trying to make like a gritty Gambit movie, a gritty Gambit film where it was like, oh yeah, it's Gambit, but it's like alternate universe type Gambit, blah blah blah. I hate that. Sounds like shit. No. What the fuck?
Despite being a priority for Fox and supposedly casting both Lizzie Kaplan and Lil Rel Howery, the project fell apart when Verbinski pulled out, citing creative differences and scheduling conflicts.
2 years I rotting in that hell and I never...
Oh shit.
The next iteration of the Gambit film would see it dialed into something that was a little more MCU adjacent. This version, written by Kinberg and Tatum's producing partner Reed Carolyn, was more of a crime romantic comedy that would have seen Gambit as something of a dashing Han Solo type acting out Louisiana-based heists. Supposedly, it was set in the 1970s and focused on roving gangs of mutants. While no director ever officially became attached to this version of the script, post-Fox and Disney merger, Tatum and Carolyn were lobbying to co-direct the movie together, fashioning themselves as a proto-Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg on the set of Green Hornet. As we all know, this version also did not manifest into a finished film. And finally, let's skip forward to 2024. It took Ryan Reynolds and Sean Levy's multiverse epic Deadpool and Wolverine to finally bring Tatum's take on the Diablo Blanco to the big screen. Global audiences were blown away by his instantly hilarious and iconic performance in the character he was destined to play. Does he have all that much to do? No, but he definitely steals every scene he's in with his delightfully Cajun accent.
Don't be knowing that lid ain't coming off without that dome gonna come off with it.
I'm so sorry, beautiful. I want this to be gentle. Who is your dialect coach? The Minions?
It's understandable why it took so long to bring Gambit to the big screen. The thing that makes him so interesting and compelling as a character is his Cajun background and his less than reputable character. And those two specific attributes obviously got sanded down in X-Men Origins Wolverine, yielding a character no one wanted. Tatum's passion for Gambit and his drive to bring him to the big screen is apparent throughout all of this time. Similar to Ryan Reynolds' pursuit of a live-action Deadpool, it would have been very easy for the leading man to just give up and say, there's better uses of my time.
Never gave up.
He stuck with it. And eventually the timing lined up and he was able to don the cowl and truly become the king of the Thieves Guild. And well, that's all we have for this episode.
Wow.
What do you think?
Thanks. Oh, Gambit. I want my Gambit movie. I want my Gambit movie. I want my Spawn reboot. Where's my Spawn reboot? Where is my Spawn reboot? You tell me. Do you know? I'm waiting. Where is that? The original Spawn was bad. I don't think it was bad. It's a product of its time. Yeah, the special effects are terrible because of the time period that it came out in. It's not the best, but at least it's something. I don't know. Dun 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 dun.